Transnation Formula One World Championship here at Sochi Autodrome for the Russian Grand Prix. By current F3 points leader Matthew Elliott. The points may be going down, but you're still holding on to that championship lead, which is an incredible feat for 16 races. 17 once we head over to Suzuka for Japan next weekend. So we have got currently 11 drivers going to take part in today's race. I'm just a bit curious to see why Guy hasn't gotten into his Red Bull just yet, but we'll overlook that one just a second. I'm just gonna go through one last invite fling for those who might not be in the lobby, but looks like everyone might be that is due to be here today. I will send invites out accidentally to those who said they weren't, but just on the off chance that they might change their mind. As far as Alvaro Vasquez is concerned, we have been told next weekend for the Spaniard's debut in the Transnation Formula One, by which we could almost pretty much guarantee a champion. So, Matt, I'll just get you to ready up and we're pretty much good to go. So, we'll just wait and see if anyone's clicked on just yet. Yep, a couple of people are now starting to get the understanding that we're good to go. Maybe I might give them an incentive 1 second. Good to go, guys. Good to go. Ready up. So, Matt, I've asked, I asked Guy and I've asked Mark their opinions on how to describe Russia in 3 words that weren't considered cliche. So, for you, how would you describe Russia without being overly cliche?
Frustrating. Frustrating.
Very clever, actually. Probably one of the only very few words I've heard from someone, one of the 3 commentators, that hasn't been mentioned in actually any of the 3 mentions to the track. So frustrating is definitely one of those ones that is considered a bit of a pain in the ass for some. So it really comes down to how you manage the track and everything else. It seems like we've got a bit of a hold up on as to people readying up. So don't know what's going on there, but we'll just get them. Just get them a bit motivated and ready to go. So, okay, so we're good to go now. So Russia is definitely a very frustrating circuit. It's a very fast circuit, a very opportunistic circuit, and a very cultivated circuit. So that last one was a bit of my own personal prospect on the situation. By cultivated, I mean that it's very diverse compared to most other tracks because it's so fast, it's so flowing, it's got very but at the same time it does show in the way that it has very few errors that you can make. So, you know, there's room for error, but there's not at the same time. So it's a track where, yeah, you don't have walls surrounding you, which means that any mistake you make will put you in the fence, but at the same time, you've also got the knowledge of any mistake you make can result in a penalty or a disqualification. So today's race isn't so much about whether you've got the pace to contend with the front runners or whatnot. It's more about whether you've got the ability to avoid the curbs, avoid getting corner cut penalties, and avoid being caught in other people's incidences. Unfortunately for you, Matt, that was a bit uncircumstantial due to a driver behind being shunted very heavily into the back of your car, which took him out of the race and you into a spin, which, you know, we don't like seeing that kind of stuff. I mean, it's unfortunate that it happens. It does happen, but just from your perspective, it's not nice seeing another guy being hit out of a race, even if that person did subsequently in the end spin you around and nearly cost you the championship lead. We did pay mention to it. I don't know if you were watching the stream or whatnot, but we did notice that you were quite frustrated, and we could tell it by your driving style during the maybe about the first 3 or 4 laps after it happened. You could definitely tell that you were being very assertive, very aggressive, and it, you know, to us it painted a picture of how frustrated you were. So it happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. When you're especially when you have such a good qualifying like you did, to be on the second row of the grid. I mean, it's like anything. It's, you qualify well, you get that sense of expectation, and then all of a sudden it just comes crashing down because somebody behind you decided to not brake as much as the other guy, and then as a result there's concertina effect. You get spun around, you get taken out of the race or anything like that. So it's a very hard prospect, especially when you've I mean, if you don't do as much practice for the race and it happens, then it's kind of like, okay, yeah, well, maybe I should have practiced more, that might have been avoidable. But for people that practice and practice and practice day in and day out, for that's just a kick in the teeth, because it's all that hard work to be walking back to their pit lane, and it's not just gaming either. It's the same with the actual F1. I mean, like, you could imagine the fitness, you could imagine how much pressure these drivers are doing every single day to make themselves match fit to race these cars, and then to go as far as the first corner and game over. I mean, it must absolutely kill your motivation big time. But anyway, we'll drop that subject now. We'll go into qualifying for the F1 Russian Grand Prix, and we're watching Axel Ericsson on screen now in the Alfa Romeo racing car tackling the circuit. It looks like he's probably invalidated a few, because he's not really attacking the track in anger, or at least that's not what I'm not seeing on my end of the screen. It does look like he might be going on the attack. It just looks very slow, if anything, but that could also just be on the contrast of the TV not showing the real situation. But going through this corner here, you've got to be so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that one, but you're just going to be so careful with that corner, and this one as well, because it's off camber. So you've got to try and get the car stopped before you hit the hill, and then into the corner as it changes height and elevation. So Axel's going to come around the last turn. He's actually, yeah, I thought as much. So he's going to set a 37.1, but if you just noticed that, Matt, he did slow down quite a fair amount before he hit the last turn, which was a suggestion that he was not happy with that lap and he was just going to set himself up for another good flyer.
Isn't he the one that likes to do 2 out laps anyway?
No, that's Melvin.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So I guess since Melvin said that he apparently, oh, we got a crash.
Addy.
Apparently, according to Mackenzie in the thing, they can't hear you in the.
Yeah, I've already taken care of that.
Okay.
My bad.
No problem. So anyway, just still a few things going on in the background. Anyway, so Engine Segal has gone now to the top with a 1 minute 30 points. Hang on, I'll wait for a 1 minute 30.1. That's a fast time, and that's on the Hypersoft tyre as well. So it's hard to say whether or not he'll go on with that, but that is incredibly fast for the Swedish driver. Actually, quick question, is Mackenzie Stewart running the number 22? Because his engine is as well. It looks like Mackenzie is actually running the... No, he's not.
19.
He's 19? Okay, well, we'll go with that one. It's better than number 1, but, you know, it's... I mean, since the engine's running the 22, it does kind of take away from the conflict of interest, so that's actually a good thing. He goes P2 with a 1 minute 30.5, and sorry, James Retief went up to P3 with a 1 minute 32.8, and he's running on the ultra soft tyre, it looks like, so, and that horrible engine glitch that we're having, so. We're just watching Nadir Ziyat on screen here in the Haas, looking to bounce back from what's been a very torrid last couple of races. I mean, since he's debuted for Haas, he's only finished 1 race, and that was in the points. He'll cross the line and he'll go invalidated 32.7, which would have put him in P5 ahead of Axel Ericsson, who has come in. And of course, to qualify
Here comes Guy across the line.
And Guy will set a 133.8 on the soft tyre. And we've been through we had this discussion, well, we've had this discussion all throughout F4 and F3. Being on the soft tyre is not going to help you, because it's an easy one stop from the hypers to the ultras. So unless Guy is not confident about his tyre wear, starting on the soft tyre is probably not the smartest thing to do in his retrospect. Now, we're also going to just have a quick moment here to look at the YouTube comments, so just in case there's anything for the Ask Bretty portion of the broadcast. I'll take my phone jack out so I can actually grab my phone in proper. Yeah. Axel can confirm that he has done an extra outlap for Melvin, so let's have a look on board with Daniel Vale, our qualifying expert for 2018, well, for season 2018, and see how he approaches it. He's just, so closely in a fence there. He really loves to push his car to the absolute limit, and just, I wonder if there's some kind of tactical gain by drawing the car so close to the fence. I wonder if there's like an aerodynamic effect to it, but he just seems to be able to throw the car in and the car just responds with such vigor. But I will say, as I've just noticed, Alex Little's gone into P3 with a 131.4. That 1 minute 30.1 is going to take some beating, so I don't think anyone, even in the time trial, out of the F1 drivers have ever gotten into the 29. So if you basically, you're going to have to beat your own time trial time to sit on the top step for this one, Daniel. So he's going to round the corner. It's going to be a 30.8, which holds him at P3. So still needs to find 3 tenths if he wants to try and overcome Mackenzie Stewart, but there's plenty of time left on the clock. 8 minutes 40 to go. I don't see... Yeah, I'm a bit convinced that 1 minute 30 is going to take some beating today.
Almost definitely. Although yesterday we could have saw Bullet Boy probably getting the 129s because he set a very good time on the Ultra Softs.
That is true. He did set a 1 minute 30.8 on the Ultra Soft tyre, which begs the question of what more could he do if he was to actually jump on the Hypersofts and go for a lap. He unfortunately didn't have enough time to really put that theory into motion. Although, in saying that, I did do a bit of research on it last night, and it is only really an 0.8 of a second gap between the Ultras and the Hypers. So even if it could have been a 1 minute 29, or it could have been a very close 1 minute 30. So there is a lot to gain from the Ultra to the Hypers, but it doesn't look like anyone other than Guy really is looking to take that approach. So everyone pretty much is running the one stop from the Hypers to the Ultras, which is, I mean, theoretically it's the right choice to take, but it really just comes down to how they approach it. So we're right on board now with Mackenzie Stewart and see how he tackles the Sochi Autodrome circuit. So heading down towards what we call turn 1. It's not officially turn 1, it's actually officially turn 2, but he'll come through here, hit the first 2 turns, and then right around this rapid turn 3. Doesn't change up to 8th gear until the very last second, then filters through to 4th gear. So close to the fence. It's not actually just Daniel that really pushes the limits on the wall there. I wonder if Mackenzie might have seen that onboard lap of Daniel's and decided maybe that's an approach to take. So Mackenzie filters through. Oh, you got to be careful. You just, I mean, we can't really tell what's a invalidation and what's not. But I mean, the obvious stuff like that, for instance, could have been an invalidation, but we'll just see what it looks like anyway, what kind of time we're looking at despite that. Adi Bettenbell has actually gone up to P3 with a 31.3. Daniel's time has actually vanished from the position board.
How did that happen?
Unless it was invalidated and the game's only just registered that idea. So Mackenzie's actually backing out of this one, so he must have invalidated somewhere along the line. That's interesting. So,
well, it wouldn't be a F1 race for the TNF1 if there wasn't some sort of glitching going on.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, I'm just going to double check to see if I can get some info on yeah, and it's not just us that's clicked on that too, so some of our viewers have also picked up on that detail as well, that Daniel's time has disappeared from the leaderboard. So,
and he says his time was legit.
So what we might do is I'll just quickly go to the race director and see. Yeah, so it looks like well, according to the system, it says that Daniel's first lap was invalidated, so maybe the game is... It's a very interesting circumstance, but I'm sure he'll come back out, and no one else's time looks to have been invalidated, well, removed off the timer board either, so... Yeah, so according to everyone else, they say that Daniel's time was invalidated, so maybe the game didn't register the corner cut from Daniel, and then something's happened and it's... I mean, he's got enough time to go out for another flyer and hopefully rectify his situation. If not, he's going to be in a bit of trouble, which... And because this is an online championship instead of a regular lobby, it could pose a few problems. If it does, then we'll definitely go back to the normal proceedings. But the number one reason that we're doing the online championships now instead of just regular lobbies is because we're trying to eliminate the more game-breaking bugs, like the pit glitch, where you get held in pit lane for God knows how long. We try to cut down on some of the desync because online championships don't have a region thing, I don't think, so it means that you're not bound by a regional server. And the other thing was also we're trying to avoid that pit lane glitch where in Russia, where if you take the pit lane traditionally, it will award you a 5-second stop go that you have to serve. And we've also got the gearbox glitch, but that
Still waiting for Stanley and George to set a time.
Stanley's coming out now, but I don't know about Daniel, to be honest. He's looking like he's just gonna... He's almost... He must be pushing to the idea that he goes for one last flyer, but... If his time's not legit, he's gonna need to get out there. So he is out there now. Actually, it's Stanley. I wonder if Stanley's just going on the basis that because he's a reserve driver, he doesn't qualify. I'm not really.
Could be the case.
I mean, fair enough, I suppose. If you feel like you might interject or something like that, it could be an avoidance, which is perfectly all right. It could be. Yep. So it's exactly as Stanley says. He's exactly as I said. So he is not gonna go out there and ruin any F1 drivers' laps or anything like that. My biggest thought, and I know you'll interject me, Stanley, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's obviously so he doesn't show his hand in F2, which is perfectly understandable.
I think both reasons could apply here.
Well, he's pretty much he said it.
It's totally fine too. So.
Yeah, he said it in the YouTube chat that he's not gonna ruin the driver's laps or anything, which is fine. But there is probably a bit of an F2 vibe to it that he's not willing to show his hand to anyone just yet when he can. And Jaws goes to the top P2 with 130.5. So that begs the question of what kind of pace Jaws has. What can Daniel do? He's only got really one more shot at it. And he's going to hope that he doesn't invalidate, because if he doesn't, Ferrari are going to take the back row of the grid, which is something we haven't seen legitimately in a long time. Oh no, he's backed off. That's it. That's day done for Daniel Vale, and that's P10 for his efforts. Game deciding to invalidate his time. Well, actually, it's not really, it's not the game invalidating his time. He's invalidated his lap, but the system hasn't recognised that he has. So I think, I mean, he'll claw back from this, no problem. And I mean, he's got a handy championship points lead, so that, I mean, he can afford to. I mean, you don't want to, as the championship points leader, and you don't want to give up points to anyone, but with Mackenzie in P3, he's caught in the, as we will like to call it, the splash zone. Anyone from practically position 1 and 3 down is 3 down to about 10th is considered the splash zone, and that's where drivers tend to
Axel up to second.
So it's a Sauber, Alfa Romeo Sauber 1-2, and Engine into the 29s with a 29.7. Unbelievable scenes here. We've got a Alfa Romeo Racing 1-2. And that's going to put Mackenzie in a further pickle.
Very nice runs by the Alfa Romeo Racing guys.
So Engine Segal also the first driver of the weekend to get into the 29, so it just pays to prove that these last few races have been a little bit of a headway for Engine, just to see how he tracks. So there's a bit of stuff going on from Daniel, from Guy in the Discord. But yeah, so Alfa Romeo 1-2, George takes up P3. Mackenzie will be a bit disappointed that his time's been kind of chopped down to P4. Alex Little will be wondering where his pace is at the moment in P7. Nadir will actually kind of take an enjoyment out of being in P8. Guy's ruining that he didn't he invalidated his final,
That final attempt on the ultras.
which meant he had to start on the soft. So, and then Daniel Vale will just be absolutely furious at the fact that the game has actually invalidated his lap for, well, or he's invalidated his lap and the game hasn't actually told him that he has. So
It's just so weird that we saw his time on the leaderboard for so long and then it's just gone.
well, I just thought it was just initially like on Gran Turismo Sport. Maybe the update had changed it so that if you go into pitch, your time just disappears. But yeah, so Stanley is confirming that he is partly playing the F2 hand. So, without further ado, we'll leave it to you, Matt, to run us through the TKA Media starting grid for Russia once we actually... There we go, once we actually get into it.
P1, the Legend Gamer Engine Sigil. P2, his teammate, Axel Eriksson. In P3, George Vanderbrug. Starting P4, Mackenzie Stewart. Starting P5, Eddie Bettenbauer. Starting P6, James Retief. Starting P7, Alex Little. Starting P8, Nadir Ziyet. P9, Guy Tasker. P10, Championship Points Leader Daniel Vale. And P11, Invitational Driver Stanley Belarus.
So, something that, yeah, it's almost a little bit like a reverse role for the top, for the two teams of Ferrari and Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo spent most of its season at the back of the field and starts on the front row. Ferrari spending most of its season, its years at the front of the field, starting at the very back. So Alfa Romeo 1-2, Ferrari 10-11. It's not something that you generally see in Formula 1, even in particular F1 gaming. Usually the best drive the best. I'm not saying that, you know, Legend Game or Engine Segal or Axel Eriksson are below average players, because I mean, Engine is being proven to be one of the fastest drivers of the F1 category. He just hasn't been able to really convert his pace that we saw in F4 and F3 previously, and so he's now rectified that situation with a blistering pole position lap to be nearly a second faster than the rest of the field. And his teammates stepped up to the challenge, and Axel's been no stranger to having teammates that are usually 1 or 2 seconds faster than him. He spent most of last season with a teammate nearly 2 seconds faster than him, and he adapted, and that also helped Axel get his first pole and first win of his season last year, or career last year, and he's in the box seat today to could potentially remedy his bad run of form as of late to have a second win, and Segal his first. So the lights will build up, they'll disappear, the revs will build, and they are off for the Russian Grand Prix F1 category. And it was actually a really good start by Axel at first, but Engine looks like he's got the cover of it. They're going to fan out now as they try and find real estate here. Axel's going to try and go around the outside of his teammate. Georges with the heavy braking actually pulls off the Stephen Bradby, and Georges Vandenbroek takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
Nice.
Segal will take P2, although Axel Eriksson's going to fight the issue. Mackenzie's going to try and find the issue up into the fourth corner. They're going to have contact. There's a bit of biff and barge. It looks like Mackenzie's going to grab second off Engine, but Engine continues to hold his ground around the outside. They're going to go... Oh, Axel! I thought Axel was going to make it through.
Oh,
right,
and he's out.
And that was a contact there with Axel, Alex Little there. So, and it's a virtual safety car. So, yeah, that was definitely, from where I saw it, it was definitely Alex's fault with that one. There was contact between the two cars, which then pivoted Eddie into the fence, so unfortunately that's Eddie's day done. But that's the first time that we've ever seen an accident happen and then almost instantly a virtual safety car gets deployed. So it looks like the online championship system has worked in a way that it's also made sure that if an accident happens, it gets remedied by a safety car. But what about that start from Jules van der Brug?
Very impressive.
I mean, honestly, he came back from a mile away with his braking. It was, you would almost say it was very much a dive bomb, but the fact that he was able to pull it up and take the corner without actually losing any ground at all was incredible. As Stanley looks like he's coming in for a pit stop, and I think I did see a Ferrari front wing during that skirmish through the first turn.
Yeah, we got a wing change.
Yeah, and so I thought initially it was actually Daniel Val's front wing who's parted ways, but it must have been Stanley's. So it looks like Stanley's going to have a bit of a rough time picking his way through, but at the same time it probably also continues to shield himself from the F2 category so that nobody really can see what he's got to offer. So, and it's unfortunate for Stanley, because I know for a fact that he would love to go all out, show his hand, show how quick he is against these people, but he knows that if he does that, he's opening the door to let people like championship contenders think, okay, he's obviously really strong here, he's really weak here. I mean, you only have to look at last weekend's race at Singapore to show he wasn't really strong. You know, so he just doesn't want to show his hand, because if he feels like he's not strong enough on the circuit, he doesn't want to show people that, and that means that they'll work around trying to beat him on it. So it's very understandable, but I can imagine Stanley's very torn on the situation. But either way, so George continues to hold the gap. The fastest lap just drops and drops and drops. Engine will be looking a little bit... Well, he's looking a bit impatient on the back of Mackenzie, although he's dropped ground to Mackenzie, who's actually now starting to put some ground on Buddy George, sorry. Daniel Val has made a good rapid comeback to be P5 at the moment. He's just gotten around James Retief. Guy Task is now in pit lane. I don't think there was a front wing change, but it looks like
I think he had to get off them softs.
Yeah, the soft tyres just don't account to anything. Interestingly, looking at his tyres, they're actually smoking quite badly, so I don't know what the deal with that is. He rejoins behind Stanley, but yeah, his tyres are emitting some really odd smoke. I wonder if that's just because of being offline and he goes straight through turn 2 to make ends meet, and Axel gets a time penalty for his efforts. Now, George has gained some time on Mackenzie, although Mackenzie might have made a mistake, and that's why Engine suddenly right back into attacking range of the number 19 Mercedes. Yeah, Segal looking very feisty at the moment. Alex has got the watching brief, and Daniel isn't that far behind either to really not capitalise on this. So Daniel's probably brought himself right back into this race win or race battle. He just now needs to catch Alex and make sure that he makes a clean pass as he does the fastest lap of the race. Here comes, because he won't have DRS on Shaw, so here goes Segal down the inside of Mackenzie down at turn 1. Gets the job done. Mackenzie just, well, he's trying to fight back the issue now, but very interesting different line. In fact, actually Mackenzie's gotten the ground there. A bit of a, I mean, it's not ideally a place you want to be set up on the outside for, so Mackenzie was a little bit susceptible to being, I wouldn't call it a side swipe by any means of the stretch, or by any stretch of the imagination, but he was set up for Segal to kind of retake his line there and not be too bothered that there was a Mercedes smack bang there. So the job's done now. Segal will chase after George van der Brug, and George will be looking to try and take race win number 3 of his career, and race win 3 of the season. So it really, it really does come down to George's championship. He'll be ruining his on and off season, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, he's some races he's just shown some tremendous pace, and he has almost flawless wins in his 3 wins, and then some races he's just off the game.
And in this kind of sport, you really just gotta be able to remain consistent all the time. If you've got the pace, you've got to do the race there and there. Now, interestingly, I just noticed on the Discord a certain person has turned up on the Discord but didn't actually make it to the race, and that was Yevgeny Delacruz. So I don't know, he must have had karting on or something, that's why he's missed it. But either which way, it looks like even with the even though he's cleared Mackenzie, it doesn't look like his engine's making too much headway on catching George. But if anything, there's a battle now here brewing between Daniel Val and Alex Little. So I just saw Daniel give the wall a bit of a clat there a second ago. I'm just trying to see if he's actually got any wing damage from that. But yeah, Daniel's definitely now attacking these. He'll be happy that he can now see 2 Mercs, which now to him means that one of them is Mackenzie, and he'll definitely know that it's Mackenzie ahead of Alex. So he'll know now that because Mackenzie is now pretty much the only person at the moment who can challenge him for the World Championship because of John Lindbergh's work schedule changing, meaning he's not going to be able to attend as many races as he used to be able to. Daniel now knows that Mackenzie's the only one who can challenge him, but, and I'm sorry Mackenzie, I know this might trigger you a little bit if you watch this back, but Daniel will know also that he can beat Mackenzie in a race on sheer pace. So if he can get past Daniel, he'll know that he'll be able to catch Mackenzie, mount an attack, and then carry on his merrily way. He might not necessarily win today's race, but he'll know that if he can get points over Mackenzie, that's one step closer to being crowned the Transnation Formula 1 World Championship in our, what is effectively our 3rd season. We call this Season 2 because the first season was more like a beta test, if anything, to try and gather numbers so that we could create a tier system. Of course, both championships were won by myself in Ferrari in the beta, and then in pretty much Ferrari Toro Rosso kind of hybrid era last season, and that was also on the account. The other account on that was because of the numbers in the championship. Oh, actually, Alex is starting to mount a bit of an attack on Mackenzie as well, so that's not going to help Mackenzie too much, and Mackenzie's probably not going to enjoy the fact that his teammate is now starting to put the hammer down. If anything, I'm starting to think Mackenzie's tyres might be letting him down a little bit.
That could be the case. I haven't heard of anybody having tire temp issues though.
I don't think it's so much tire
all weekend.
Well, I don't think it's tire temp issues. I think it's just more about the lack of, well, the degradation being quite bad, and there's quite a battle brewing between Guy, Tasker and Stanley, but Stanley's actually given the position up quite quickly, and there's a change of position now as Alex has cleared Mackenzie, and Mackenzie probably, I don't know whether this is a team effort or not, but Mackenzie won't be overly thrilled that Alex has decided, you know what, you can deal with Daniel, I'm leaving, sort of thing. So, oh, Alex, actually, really nasty moment there. And that's the problem. When you clear someone, you've got to clear them. If you clear them and then start throwing your car around like a madman, you're opening yourself to get re-overtaken. And Mackenzie will be pardon my language, he'll be ticked off that now that Alex has cleared him, he's not pulling away. So Daniel's now backed off, which is probably the smartest thing to do, because he's probably going to sit there and think these two are going to have a monumental accident in a second. Alex is not, I mean, Alex made it abundantly clear that he's not going to play number 2 driver to this team, so he's definitely showing that hand right now that he's not going to let Mackenzie back through no matter how hard he tries. They may be teammates, but he wants to race against Mackenzie and be able to beat him on track. So it is bringing Daniel into the game, and Daniel will now be right up Mackenzie's gearbox. In fact, what we're going to do is ride on board with Daniel and see what he does. So DRS for both drivers. But Daniel's going to have the edge. Is he going to take a move up the inside turn one? No, he thinks about it, but then backs off. Mackenzie, on the other hand, decides he thinks about having a move, but then backs it off, which will open the door to Daniel a little bit, as Daniel now sweeps to the outside, which will position him as the inside run into turn 4 and gets the job done. Mackenzie's going to... Oh my goodness, Mackenzie, keep it close. Any closer and you're pretty much wiping it off. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the two. Mackenzie did shut the door a little bit on Daniel, but Daniel decides to actually redeem the situation by... whether it was his fault or not, he redressed the situation, but it's helping now Alex pull away from the field. And actually we've got another battle now, because Engine Seagull has actually managed to now rope in that time to Jules Vanderbrug. But you kind of can't take your eyes away from this battle either between Alex, Mackenzie and Daniel, because they're just hammer and tongs at the moment. Daniel will just be kind of biding his time. He probably knows he's got the ability to get past Mackenzie. He's just waiting for the more opportunistic moment where he can make the move and not be inclined to... In fact, as we say that, Mackenzie dives into the pits and gets a 5-second stop-go penalty for corner cutting, which is...
that's what he's been dreading.
Yep, and that's a kind of a situation, and that's what he means by it has to be served then. So as soon as it happens, it gets served. So we'll monitor that one, as Daniel gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. So we'll definitely monitor this one and see what happens. We haven't seen it. So, if push comes to shove, it'll be... Oh! Oof. Oh, that was close from Seagull. I thought that was game. Actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought that was actually Axel, but... Sorry, Axel. But, yeah, it just looked like Seagull was going straight into the fence with that one. But... Would you say, just looking at the top, like, I don't know whether you were watching Mackenzie go into pit lane or not, did that look like it was a bit subjectable to you, like he was a bit too aggressive going in?
It may have been.
We'll find out one way or another how it approaches as the other drivers come in to make their stop. Alex Little will be doing it. Daniel plays the dummy. No, Daniel actually comes in as well. No, nothing for either one of them. So whether or not it comes down to how aggressive you approach the pit lane or not is a telling point. And Axel now gets a 3-second for multiple warnings. Okay, that's interesting. And
hopefully we'll get to see what happened with Mackenzie from his point of view later on today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we did make things to say that if drivers get that glitch and it happens, we would look into it and drop the penalty. But it's all about a matter of whether it's legit or not. If it's deemed too aggressive on Mackenzie's end, then of course there's a difference there. Now I think Mackenzie's actually just almost lost the will to race anymore, because he's just racking up penalty after penalty after penalty. And his driving has become a lot more erratic. So I don't know whether or not he's trying. You're going to get disqualified, Mackenzie. Settle down. You're not going to do your championship any good if you're just pushing to make ground at the cost of your own race. Just settle down, get into a rhythm. And, I mean... I can understand the frustration behind it, I really do, and I know for a fact that I'd be just as angry as him if it was me in the F2 race, and if it does happen in the F2 race, I know I'm going to be angry about it, but it's... the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a worse position that, with the amount of penalties he's got now, that even if he does get the 5-second removed for the...
engine with the wing change.
Interesting.
That is going to help George out a lot.
And that might actually play into perspective here too. Now, somebody who hasn't actually come in yet is Nadir Ziyat, but Nadir's also running the ultra soft tyre, so that's a contrasted difference as Alex Little will now take the position off him. And Daniel will have the watching brief on how he... although Alex looks like he's got the measure of Daniel a little bit with the ultra soft tyre, so Daniel's... I don't know whether Daniel knows about the situation with the time penalty or he's just not chasing Alex straight away to look after the tyres. So, oh, and
Nadir's around.
Oh, and Daniel was lucky to avoid that, but Mackenzie and unfortunately Mackenzie and James were caught right in the crossfire of that. I don't know about Mackenzie so much whether he got away with that, but James definitely came out of that with some pretty severe wing damage. Although, looking on the screen right now, it doesn't look as bad. Well, I can't tell, really. I mean, Force India is probably one of the only few cars that has a front wing that you actually can notice the difference between the two. So, yeah, Nadir probably just got a little bit overexcited on those ailing tyres, and Guy will actually be kind of delighted about this in a little bit because he's... ooh, Axel Ericsson's just given the wall a massive smack as Mackenzie does the fastest lap of the race, but I don't know if... oh, here we go. Okay, so Nadir Ziyat with a 5-second stop go for doing the pit lane.
He got it as well.
Okay, so that's 2, and we did say that if the vast majority of the field get a 5-second stop-go penalty for corner cutting, for the pit lane service, we would then rectify. That's... oh god, what's going on here? James Retief down the inside of Mackenzie, doesn't get the position. Engine Seagal's gonna take that spot off James. It's hard to tell whether or not James had front wing damage from that contact with Nadir during that process. Nadir's actually gone on to the soft tyres. That's... although I suppose he has come in early from the ultra soft, so it does explain that much, as Seagal will now make a move on Mackenzie and take P4. And Daniel with clear air will now try and chase Alex Little down for P2. This race has really gone off, hasn't it?
Yeah. And it's not huge gaps either. Quite nice so far.
Well,
the largest gap is 31, almost 32 seconds, and the next one's Guy behind by almost 8.
As George Vandenbroek now gets a 3-second time penalty. Daniel Val now right on the back of Alex Little, as James Retief now makes a move on Mackenzie, who's... it's very hard to distinguish what Mackenzie is doing right now, because he's just racking up penalty after penalty, and it's... I just can't put... I can understand if he's angry about it, but you just got to settle down. You just don't throw your car around earning penalty after penalty. It's not a good look. And I'm not actually saying this to bag him like I usually do, but I'm actually genuinely concerned that he's going to get...
oh, and he just binned it.
Was it a... oh, Jesus. Okay, let's have a look.
Just went wide right into the wall.
Yeah, I think he's done that one on purpose, which is not a good look either, so that's... well, I'm not going to go on about it, actually, to be honest. That's just very disappointing, and I'm sure Mackenzie will now just go and reflect and chill out, and we'll see how that plays out for... That's going to do him a lot of harm in the championship. Not so much against... Well, actually, let's have a look. So, I'll just have a quick look at the championship.
You'll earn 0 points.
So, yeah, 0 points for Mackenzie, though that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to find between him and Alex, the gap is 53 points, so it won't do him too much harm there, but it will basically give Daniel a huge points haul. At the moment, Daniel will extend his championship points lead to a 65 point advantage if he stays here. If he manages to get past Alex and then by some chance gets past George and wins the race, ooh, debris from Mackenzie's car just actually made contact with Daniel's car. That could be actually a potential puncture risk, because ghosting is off, which means the debris is actually there in Vate's station. But it looks like Daniel's car's actually moved the debris. Anyway, so if Daniel does manage to get past Alex, claw his way up to George and wins the race, then that's a 75 point lead in the championship, which pretty much means that he can cruise his way almost all the way down to Mexico, not even Mexico, actually USA, which is in 2 races time, and then he'll be the champion-elect for season 2018, which might mean he might let someone else win a race for once.
I doubt it.
No, of course not. I mean, it's pretty much set in motion without Lewis Hamilton. Although a lot of people believe that if Lewis Hamilton ever won a championship before the final race, he wouldn't win a race. But last year he kind of debunked that one by winning pretty much every other race after he'd become champion. So either which way, it kind of, yeah, you don't want to give away anything, even if you've won the war. You don't want to give up the battles. But he's definitely giving Alex Little a run for his money.
I gotta hand it to Alex. He's been pretty good on the defense.
We've lost Stanley as well, and it looks like that's come out of the last turn of anything. Stanley, you haven't been in the pit entry, have you? I wish I'd seen that. I wish I'd seen that. I cringe every time someone crashes into the pit wall. It just brings back horrible memories of Belgium and the beta test. We started with 15... we started with about 14 or 15 cars, 100% race around Belgium. I'll tell you, at the end, so at the end we had 1 driver remaining. Everyone else DNF'd.
Oh my goodness.
But my crash more notably... Oh no, actually Stanley's car's trundling out of pit lane. I think he's actually... Oh no, Stanley! What is that? What is Codemasters doing with that game? Why would you leave? That was
so he pulled it into the pits and retired.
And yet it carried...
And it sent the car back out.
That is unbelievably stupid from Codemasters to ever think that a feature like that should be ever incorporated into a game, and I, for one, would personally have red flagged this race, if that had taken out Alex or Daniel or anything like that, because that is just unbelievably stupid. He did the right thing. Stanley did the right thing. He went into pit lane and retired the car. But then the game decides to keep functioning the car unless by some off chance thing. I'm just going to check the thing to have a look.
Oh, Daniel.
Even George is, even Stanley is saying, yeah, even Stanley is saying he's unbelievably surprised that the car was retired in the pits but yet trundled through. Now, the only thing I can think of that could have happened, and it's not Stanley's fault for it, is that he's come in, pulled the car's pulled into the pits, and then he's decided, nah, I'm going to retire the car. So as he's paused and tried to then proceed to retire the car's come out of pit lane, or coming out of the pit box. So if that happens, then the car will just carry on like it normal. So it won't, it'll proceed to go down the pit lane and then find the nearest place to pull off and retire. So it's not Stanley's fault if that's happened, but it is something that Codemasters needs to honestly thoroughly look at, because that could have been a monumental accident caused by a car that should not have been on the track because it was retired. And this is where I think, like, I know they're never going to do it, because it's honestly probably, even for great coders, it's probably in the too hard basket. The ability to drive your car into the garage if you want to retire it. And that's also where the manual pit lane service comes into play, where you manually control your car. So you manually control your car into the pit lane, and if you decide, I can't race this anymore, this car is unraceable, you just turn the car in, goes into the pit lane, and then it automatically it might give you an option to say, are you sure you want to retire your car? And if you go no, then you'll just go through oh, and Ed Segal's in the fence!
Ah.
I just caught it in the back of the shot. Segal just gassed it up coming out of the corner, and it's fired his car straight into the fence, and that is going to require a front wing change. Now, well,
this is what we usually see from him too.
He just gets, yeah, he just gets I think he just gets a little excited, and then it causes it just, you know, he gets a little overexcited coming out of the corner, and Mackenzie's just messaged me to indicate that DNF wasn't actually on purpose, so I do apologise, Mackenzie, for that one, but just looking at the frustration on your end, I don't blame you if you had, honestly, but yeah, so yeah, this engine is kind of the maker of his own destiny somewhat. He's got this lightning bolt pace, and then he does just tend to just get a little excited about it and makes these small mistakes, which is, you know, everyone does it, but he's just got a 3-second time penalty coming out of pit lane, but, you know, he's still, I think Alfa Romeo, we're kind of looking at themselves saying a 1-2 in qualifying to a 5-6 currently in the race. It's kind of like, oh, what's happened? But anyway, so Daniel's now right on the back of Alex, and looks like he's going to mount an attack very shortly. We'll just keep an eye on that while we wait. Actually, we'll wait to see what happens, and then we'll pan to a shot of another car while I talk about it. So looks like they're going down the back straight now. Daniel should have the DRS coming into turn 1, well, the proposed turn 1, I should say, down the back straight, but just doesn't have enough space between himself and Alex to make a move. So we'll check around with Guy Tasker for a moment, because he's had a bit of a lonely race, and so I can carry on explaining. So basically, what will happen, that if you decide that, okay, I've made a mistake, I don't want to retire the car, you just go no, and then there's an animation similar to qualifying, where they put the car on the jacks, roll your car back out, and then you just carry on your merrily way. And then if you say yes, retire the car, then it just goes through the normal procedure where it retires the car. And then they have a brand new cutscene where you get out of the car in the garage and storm off or whatever. So it's things like that can avoid those kind of accidents, for one. And also with the manual pit stop, you can also have pit stop error, like you move your car, you pit your car too far back or too far forward, and it means that they have to push you into the pit lane or into the box, which compromises your run, or your pit stop and stuff like that. Just things like that, you know, it could really invigorate the racing for F1 2019 this season. I mean, I think every year, well, ever since the TNF1 came to power, as both Alex and Daniel drift their way through the last turn, I think every year that we've raced these games, we've always talked about what we want to see with every new game that comes out. So for F1 2018, we kind of asked for a lot, as Daniel almost throws it away at turn 1. But it comes down to, we ask and we might get. The tyre carcass thing was something definitely that we didn't really see coming, as well as the ERS system, which to this day I still think that not a lot of people have managed to get it down perfectedly to a point of being absolutely in control. So those were the two features that were brought into the game that no one actually really knew about. But things like the manual pit box and all that stuff still was not incorporated. Now, if you go back as far as F1 2010, you would actually notice that they had manual pit stops in F1 2010. Sorry, I'm just going to go hands-free for a second here. My headset's broken, so it's being funny. Okay, that's better. So, Alex has made a bit of a mistake there, and this might size Daniel up for an overtake. I'm a bit surprised that he hasn't really mounted an attack. I know Alex's defense has been good, but Daniel usually gets a little aggressive when he knows that the person in front's going to be difficult to overtake. So let's see. Yep, here we go. He thinks about it. He always throws himself out of the draft. I wonder if he does it and thought that the person in front's going to think, oh shit, he's going to make a dive, I'll get on the dive on the brakes. If he's thinking that's how to do it, then he's obviously going to be a little disappointed, because Alex Little's not the kind of person that reacts to that kind of situation. He knows those games, he knows those trades. He's an actual racer outside of the TNF1. He races New Zealand super trucks, where he's actually looking to defend his 2017 title, or 2018 title I should say. He races with his father. I don't know actually whether or not there was any racing this year, because he never said anything about it, but he's he knows the racecraft better than most people, so he knows his limitations. He knows that what's going to happen when it happens. So he's not gonna cave if Daniel decides to do a fake. But all this battling is just helping George pull away to a 7.5 second lead, or 7.8 seconds now. So Daniel's chances of winning this race is starting to slowly but surely wither as he continues to try and push the boundaries to try and make P2 a possibility. Is he going to have a look here? Alex actually goes defensive this time, so he must be feeling just a little threatened at the moment that Daniel is going to actually eventually do a fake that leads into an overtake. And there's a bit of a barge between the two there coming into turn 3. I'm lost. Matt, you speak for a second. My voice is hurting.
They got a little close to going in there, but it didn't look like there was actual contact. It looked like Daniel backed out a little bit. But yeah, this battle has just made it so easy for Jors. And I'm sure he's going to be thrilled with getting a nice win, leading from start to finish.
And I suppose other than Spain, really, the previous victory that he got at Germany was kind of a runaway victory as well. And I think it came from the same kind of circumstances that Daniel's... In fact, I think Daniel started at the back at Germany as well. So it's the second time that Daniel's had to start at the back, and I think it's on the same account that he just couldn't put a lap together. And it's the second time that Daniel's fought his way back into racing contention from it. But yeah, every time that Daniel starts at the back, George seems to come out on top. So George will be probably hoping that Daniel has more of these kind of qualifyings more often, because it means that he can... I wouldn't put it past, the Legend Gamer or Engines Go definitely had the pace to be in contention to win this race. He just didn't look like he just was a bit too aggressive at some point, broke his wing, and lost ground, and then as he was trying to claw his way back through the field, he got a bit excited and lit up the rears coming out of the third to last corner. And oh yeah, that's actually something I didn't pay attention to, the penalty system. So what I might get you to do, Matt, is run through the race director and find out the penalties between Alex and Daniel, and maybe even have a look at Georges, because there could be a reason that Georges is pushing.
Daniel and Alex both have 2 penalties each, so they're racing for position on track. And Georges is sitting on 3 penalties, so if one of them get within 3 seconds, they'll take the spot.
Yeah, so not likely at the moment, but if both drivers didn't have a penalty, although if these two both get penalties, then it is a battle for position for all 3 of them. If Georges gets 2 more penalties though, then it's pretty much, this could be, if Georges gets 2 more penalties in these next 2 laps, then this is your effective battle for the win. So I don't know if these two are going to be too aware of that, or whether they even care or not. I think Daniel's prior goal at the moment is to get past Alex before he worries about what's going on in penalty land between himself and Georges, but it just doesn't look like, I don't know, I think Daniel pushes really hard to try and make ground, but he doesn't seem to always have that ground when it counts. It looks like Alex has him beat in the areas that Daniel is strong at, so the best opportunity, I think Alex is playing that strategy where he tries to be as slow as he can through the slower bits where Daniel can't theoretically attack, and then, oops, sorry, I just paused there for a second because I thought that was one of these two getting a 3-second time penalty, which would have then changed the ground of the battle. But yeah, I think Alex is just playing a hand where he goes slower through the corners that Daniel can't attack, and then as soon as he hits those corners that he knows that Daniel can attack from there, he then puts the handle down. So although I think Daniel might be in a position here to mount an attack, he's going to go for it. He's actually going for it. They're both locking brakes into the corner. Daniel looked like he just got off the brake and made a move. Is he going to try and have a look at the off-camber corner? Alex locks up. Oh, and Daniel's grabbed the fence. Is that front wing damage? It actually kind of looks like he may have gotten away with that one.
I think the rear end just swung out and got the fence.
Oh, and
but it doesn't look like it really affected his time.
No, they're just pushing absolutely hammer and tong. Alex will just be willing himself, although I think this time Daniel's got the run, he's got the DRS. He's going to try and look around the outside. Of course, Alex will defend.
Oof.
And Daniel, oh, okay, so that's broken. Okay, so that could have just ended Daniel's hopes of finishing P2 unless he can get past Alex here. He's actually going to go. He's mounted the attack. He's slower. Oh,
oh no!
What is going on? I can't tell if this...
If I were Alex and I was keeping track of penalties, which he usually does, just let him go and stay right behind him.
I'm lost. I'm lost on this because I can't figure out what the hell's going on. Is this actually happening or is this desync?
No, that was happening.
But they're going side by side all of a sudden. I mean, if they're creating a show, this is brilliant, by far a brilliant show. They've been side by side. Oh, they're just bouncing off each other. The last thing you want, although they will be classified if they stay where they are. Daniel's going to try and mount an outside move here. Oh, come on, boys. Just stick to a position, and he's got it done. So Daniel finally gets the job done, but now he's got to try and make 3 seconds on Alex in the next 2 laps, or it's game over. Well, actually, technically speaking, oh no, it is 2 laps ago because Georges has just started the 26th lap, so now Daniel's just going to have to try and pull away and try and make 3 seconds unless unless Alex gets another penalty, which could happen if anything, and Daniel's now trying to break the slipstream a little bit. He does one move, which is perfectly legal. And Alex almost looked like he was trying to feather the system, so a lot of that penalty system from Daniel would have come from the fact that Alex was probably taking some very suggestive lines, which then Daniel would have followed, and Alex would have only just narrowly missed the penalty, or missed the penalty system there, but Daniel would have just crept over it. Because when you follow someone's line, you do tend to either go a little bit too deep or a little bit too shallow. So it comes down to how you approach it. But now Daniel's trying his absolute hardest to try and pull away to 3 seconds. I don't think he's honestly going to do it unless Alex ends up getting another penalty or makes a mistake. But the once known misconsistency showing some aggression today, which is something that he's always talked about, saying that he needed to have if he ever hoped to challenge up the front more often, and he's definitely shown his aggressive hand today on Daniel Vaughan, and it goes without say that it's definitely been an interesting battle between these two at the dying stages of the race, though Daniel would have been wishing now that he had made some of those moves more stick, but we'll hopefully be able to take our eyes off this battle in a second so that we can now focus on George van der Brug, who...
Oh! Daniel into the wall, he's done.
Oh, so that's unfortunate. So he will be classified as a finisher, but that's not going to do him much justice today. And on the final...
James Retief up to 3rd. Nice run.
So, unfortunate for Daniel, that's going to be probably... that's going to be position 8. So, position 8, he's still going to get points for that, but he's going to be absolutely spewing at the fact that he's just throwing it away on the final lap of the race. But with Mackenzie out of the race and scoring no points, that's still a 2-point advantage that he makes over Mackenzie when it matters. Heading into Japan. But for George van der Brug, it's been an absolute brilliant day at the office. He took the race lead on the first lap and pretty much was not headed for a vast majority of the race. It's truly been a magical performance for McLaren today. George van der Brug rounds the final turn and he'll win the F1 Russian Grand Prix. And in fine style.
Very nice drive.
And Alex Little, he fought the challenge from Daniel. Probably knew that he was going to take second from the penalty system, but will take second place irrespective of the situation. And James Retief, what a drive from the Force India driver, a podium for his efforts. And I think that might actually be his first podium of the season. Maybe his second, I'm not sure. We'll find that out later down the line, and we'll let you know on that one coming into Japan. So we'll grab our 3 winning drivers today and have a chat with them, and I'm sure there'll be some tales to tell, woes and all that kind of stuff as well. So we'll have a chat with them and see how they saw the race. Axel Ericsson with a final place penalty at the end of the race, and Guy Tasker will cross the line to take P5 after a bit of a botched strategy from him, and Engine Segal will round the corner to take position 6, sorry. George van der Brug we've got now joining us in
haven't been here for a while.
Yeah, we'll come to you in a second, Alex. So, first and foremost, George van der Brug, congratulations, your 3rd win of your career and of the season. That first lap dive, we'll call it, that pretty much sealed your victory, and it's been a controlled victory from the whole race, so you must be thrilled with a 3rd win of the year.
Yeah, I knew I had to be a bit more aggressive to get my car from 3rd to 1st, and I knew I had to do it quick because the dirty air is just really bad around here. The tires already go off a cliff when you're just racing, and if you're behind someone it's just worse, so I'm just happy it worked out in that first turn.
And the funniest part about it was that the amount of pace that you were carrying into the corner compared to everyone else, we thought you were just going to lock up and just fire straight off the circuit, but your ability to pull it up was truly amazing. So, and then from there it just looked like you were just pretty much controlling the pace from start to finish. So it's a good result, and
I just I didn't think I would make the corner. I thought I had missed my braking point, but I somehow managed to slow it down and still carry enough speed to not lose another position.
Well,
I've got something to add to that, and
yeah, go for it.
just the size of your grapefruits to make that move. That was pretty good. You might want to submit that to John for overtake of the week.
Yeah, I would agree with that one on that one. Well done, George. So congratulations, win number 3. Hopefully the pace carries on for you over the course of the last few races, and we'll see you next weekend at Japan, maybe, depends on your availability, of course. Alex Little, P2, brilliant battling there with Daniel Vale on the last dying stages of the race. A bit of a mistake between you two, having a bit of an altercation with a couple of laps ago probably didn't help. Also a bit of an altercation between you and Addy at the very start, which put Addy out of the race. I want to grab your perspective of that incident as well, but a P2 finish nonetheless must be pretty satisfying given the amount of battling you had to do to get it.
Yeah, well, I knew I didn't I knew the pace wasn't there, so I was just trying to make some places and try to get the pit stops. So I know if I can get the first stint right and I can get the pit stops right, I might be able to actually hold my own. And that second stint was just trying to hold my own. And Daniel, since he's the fastest guy in the whole league, trying to keep him behind is so hard. You just gotta plan where you're gonna be faster, and that's what I planned. I planned to be faster where it couldn't pass me. So, coming into the long straights, I really concentrate hard to get that exit speed. And once I did, he couldn't actually get me, and I had him for a while. But, yeah, it's a brilliant battle, just trying to hold my own. Don't make those mistakes, and more importantly, don't cut those freaking corners, man. This track is an ass when it comes to track extending and corner cutting. And I managed to not do that too bad. So overall it was good. And the Addy thing, well, as far as I'm concerned, I went up the inside and he turned into me, the cunt. Sorry about the language, but I do really hate him after Italy. But I got alongside him, went up the inside, and he didn't really leave me the space, and he kind of excluded himself really because he's drives, to be honest. But so that's my personal opinion.
Sorry about that, just reading something. Okay, so thanks for your perspective, but yeah, a bit kinder on the language next time if you will.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Either way, congratulations P2, and we'll see you at Japan most likely. And James Retief P3, you probably didn't see that one coming, did you? And you would have been, staring down the barrel of a P4 finish, which I think is your equal best result of the year, and then all of a sudden you see Table Clan's name pop up on the bottom of the screen saying he's out of the race, so you come around the first corner and you're suddenly P3. I'm sure that would have been like a bit of an eye-opener for you. There was a bit of a clash between Daniel and Alex with about 3 laps to go, but it wasn't DNF worthy. I think Daniel just got a bit too excited trying to make up a 3-second gap because he knew he needed to make 3 seconds if he wanted to just hold down P2. So rather than try and hold back and take a P3 finish, he ended up being out of the race with a 8th place to his name because he did make the 90%, so he was classified as a finisher. Unfortunately, he's only managed to put 2 points onto his name from what could have been 15. So great opportunistic racing from you today, James. So well done, and we'll see you all at Japan. Matt, any comments? Driver of the day.
I really appreciate the more aggressive side of Alex. I want to see more of that. Nice race by George. Just another one of those races where you just put everything together and it worked out for you. And Nice job for the P3 by James to not even be sniffing for a podium finish and just take advantage.
One question I do want to actually ask you, Jules, based on your championship as it's been, and I asked you this question once before, but you didn't actually register that it was me asking you that question. So back then I asked you, your championship form has been kind of up and down all season long. You've had really races like today, Germany, and even Spain, where you've just had this immense raw pace, and you've been able to capitalise on that to take great results. But then you've had races where you've kind of been near the back of the field, and we've kind of scratched our heads over that. So just tell the viewers basically what it is that goes through a driver's mind when these races happen. How do you bounce back from them like you do every now and again?
Well, I don't actually, as the championship is not really that important anymore to me because I can win it. I just see the race as a separate race. I just see how far I can come in every race. I don't look back. That's just demotivating. If you, I think you should say it like that. I just every race try to be as good as I can. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
Well, it's a very good attitude to take, to be honest. I mean, a lot of us can dwell on previous race results and stuff like that, and then also some people can also look at the what ifs. If I didn't have that crash, or if I didn't make that mistake, or whatever. So it's a good attitude to take when especially when you're not in the championship battle anymore. You do just kind of decide, I'm just going to go out there and do what I can to make myself look known out there, and you've done a good job of doing that today. So we'll let you guys go, and we'll wrap it up today for the F1 Grand Prix. So your top three today was George van der Brug, Alex Little, and James Retief. Unfortunate for Daniel Vale, our championship points leader, who doesn't really come out of this weekend two-faced, and the fact that he'll have a now 52-point lead in the championship over Mackenzie Stewart, who unfortunately didn't finish today's race after a few problems and then a mistake that's put him into the fence. So we'll see you again next week at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix round 17 of 21 of the Transnational Formula One World Championship. We're slowly but surely bringing the championship to a close, and we will sooner but surely crown ourselves our new Formula One World Champion, the person who will take the number one off yours truly. Stay tuned in about an hour and a half's time where we get ready for the F2 Championship, where I will probably try and do my best not to crash out again, or get glitched out in the pit lane. That happens in an hour and a half time with Mackenzie Stewart and whoever he can find for commentary. Without further ado, that's it for today's broadcast. We'll see you next weekend at